what is worldly culture and what is Christian culture? Kendra.
Yeah. Well, I think it's very ambiguous. I don't think there's a clear-cut answer to what we identify as secular culture or Christian culture. But I do know, and I'm pretty sure Christians know, especially if you have been a Christian for a while, that there has to be a division between both, right? If we talk about culture, culture is in everything that we do, right? It's our way of living. And so as Christians, we have a distinct, I guess, there's a distinct expectation for us to live. And I would say that, we have to understand the line between what we should not cross in terms of adapting a worldly culture. And I know we'll get into details with that, so it's all gonna make sense later. But one thing that we have to first establish, like, what is that divide, right? Like, as a Christian, what should I not adapt in the worldly culture, or what not? What I should, what can I do, or how can I participate in the worldly culture? And I feel like that divide is a lot more pronounced back in the day, at least when I was growing up. And I'm pretty sure even before, the years before I was growing up, before I was even born, that division is a lot more clear and clear cut. But when I was growing up, it's a lot more pronounced relative to now. And I say that because when I was growing up, anything that did not have anything to do with church or Christ is considered worldly, considered as things of the world. And if it's worldly, it's ungodly. And if it's ungodly, it's something that as a Christian, I have to avoid. And one thing that pops up in my head is music, right? And I'm pretty sure for us, as Christians growing up, I feel like this can be a shared experience where any music that do not have Christ or God in it is considered the thing of the world. And we're not even talking about like music that's like has cuss words, or talking about, and I don't know, like derogatory terms or whatnot. Like, it can be a very empowering song, it can be about love, it can be an encouraging song, but as long as it did not have Christ in it, or it's not Christ centered, it's definitely something that is a part of the worldly culture, and it's something that I could not entertain as a Christian. But who's gonna tell me not to? I'm joking. But back in the day, we would still listen to it, right? But the way it's communicated to us is that it's not a Christian thing if Christ is not in it. Anything that's outside the perimeters of the church or Christianity is something that we have to avoid. And I'm gonna throw that back to you guys. A question to you guys: what's one worldly thing, one worldly thing that you were told as a child to stay away from, but then if you look back now, it really wasn't that serious? And I know one from you, Pastor Mark. I got it from one of your preachings. It reminded me of it. I did. Oh, actually, let me just say it. When your parents told you couldn't watch Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh,
yeah. Talk to me about that.
Oh, let me talk to you about that. All right. So growing up, I lived in like a strict household. Like, and it's, I'm not blaming my parents. That's how they grew up too. It was a strict household, and that's how they learn how to raise kids. And so I had Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Pokemon cards. I had Beyblades, and I played RuneScape. Oh my gosh, if you remember those things, RuneScape.
No, I don't.
Yep.
Okay, find it. Those who do remember, those things, right? Maple Store, all that type of stuff. And the funny thing is, in all of those like different forms of, let's say, entertainment, it had to involve like some spiritual, like a spirit coming out, or monsters or dragons. And so when my parents found out that Yu-Gi-Oh cards had if you watch a TV show, like when they throw the Yu-Gi-Oh card, a spirit or like a thing comes out of the card. When they saw that, they deemed the cards as like spirit possessed spirits, stuff like that. Yep. And then also with Beyblades, if you know Beyblades, when they spin the Beyblade, bringing a dragon comes out. Same thing.
Holy Beast.
Even for RuneScape, we found what RuneScape was. RuneScape is actually a medieval game involving dragons and wizards. So when they found out dragons and wizards, they think that's bad for my soul. So even for me, I believed it too. Like, there was a revival night, and then when they lay hands and you're all crying and stuff, I got convicted by the Holy Spirit and then play RuneScape and that's the type of thing, right? And when I look back at it now, it's it's so stupid. They bought the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, they bought the Beyblades, and they threw it out because they found out it was like, ooh, spirits in it. But when I'm looking back at it, it's so stupid, so small. Um, so yeah, I think that's my experience. I don't know about you guys.
I was gonna say the same with the dragons and all that, because I don't know, for some reason, it's not from my parents, but because my mom, she went abroad, so I was living with my dad, but he doesn't really go to church as much as he does now. So he's not as strict as, like, I guess, like Pastor Rex's household, right? But like I learned it in church where it's like when it comes to like things with dragons and like all that, like you have to stay away from them. So I played the same toys as Pastor Mark with Beyblades and all that. That's why I'm like, yes, I experienced the same thing. And yeah, now that I think about it, it's just doesn't really affect me now. I just think of them as toys before. And I think, yeah, we that's a little too much, I think, for me.
Yeah, you, Sam.
I don't think I have anything. I don't think I have anything. Wait, what's the question? Like, what's something that is? Did we have anything?
Anyways, like
I don't think I have anything.
wow.
Okay, it's gonna get cut.
Are you sure we had the same childhood? By the way, guys, we're sisters.
I can't think of anything.
Well, I'm telling you, wearing shorts was a very worldly thing.
It is?
Heard,
Yeah, under like shorts.
Not
above.
yeah.
Oh, shorts.
I-
Okay.
shorts.
Okay,
Yeah,
like
well,
I guess
not
like
in the
here.
Philippines. Here it was
Not in the
like,
Philippines,
yes,
which is
well, 'cause
weird.
it's hot. Exactly. And then that's the thing. That's the complexity of culture. Like Christian culture is very like diverse. Like, it changes. When I was in the Philippines, it's a different culture. When I got to Canada, it's a lot stricter. And also with us, I heard about Barbies too having spirits in them. Barbie dolls having spirits in them. I think it was like one of the pastors, and her child had so much Barbie dolls, and I think like like it was just weird, like having spirits inside Barbie dolls, and yeah, they were just like instructing her not to like play Barbie dolls anymore. Like I've heard some like crazy stuff about things that we were not supposed to do as Christian kids, you know. But yeah, so there's like, to me as a child at least, and I feel like to you guys, like anything that did not have anything to do with our call as Christians, like what is Yu-Gi-Oh going to do to you as a Christian, right? Nothing really. Like or let's say like Christian or secular music or wearing shorts, like it did not have anything to do with Christianity, and so it was something that was othered, almost something that you had to like barricade yourself from. But I find now that especially like late 2010s until now, when I was growing up, like as an adult, young adult, that the line separating world culture and Christian culture is a lot more blurred, and it's a lot more one way. So what I'm trying to say is I'm seeing now in our culture, in our society, secular culture seeping into Christian culture more than Christian culture seeping into secular circles. Does that make sense? And an example I can give you now of why I'm saying it's a lot more blurred is churches nowadays. We see even the languages that pastors use in sermons, it's really words that you hear in worldly conversations. For example, lit, when that blew up, these slangs, lit, clout, other slangs, right? Like we're a lot more free in using that even in like Christian conversations, even conversations that the pastor's having in the pulpit, right? And again, this is not a bad thing. I'm just stating facts. This is what's happening now. Also, the way that we dress, right? We cannot differentiate how ministers like myself dress compared to someone who is, let's say, performing outside of the church, right? So it's a lot more blurred, at least to me. And but to us as Christians, this like we've had conversations about it, Kuya Mark, before, where we don't see it as a bad thing to, I guess, participate a little bit in the secular circle or the worldly circle, because we've said it before that for us to reach the world, we have to like meet them where they are, right? So there's this like level of, I guess, necessity for us as we see it as Christians today, that we have to participate a little bit in the culture just so that people can resonate more with us. And that is a way for us to propagate the gospel. And a lot of churches nowadays are using seeping into that circular culture and participating in it as a way for for others outside the church to know Christ more. And in a way, it is beneficial, right? But if we look back, 10 years ago, that's really not something that we do. Actually, like today, churches, if you say a church is cultured, it's a lot more appealing. I would love for my church to be cultured, in tune with the times, and that is a compliment, but that's not really much of a good thing. If we recall, 10 years ago, if you say that a church is in tune with things that are happening outside the world, has a negative connotation to it. But today we take it as a compliment if my church, or I as a Christian, is very in tune with the times, right? Being cultured is a good thing as a Christian. So yeah, that divide between secular or worldly culture, if you say it, between Christian culture is a lot more blurred today than it was before. But how do we connect that to the biblical truth saying that we should not conform to the things of this world? And in some translations, they would say we should not copy the customs and the practices of this world. Like, how do we connect that? And I think that's something that us as Christians today have to wrestle with.